Gonna dip that in, give it a turn. You see that already. It's not even the best part. Absolutely phenomenal. Right, we are back with another crazy resin art video. This one is kind of a tweak on something we've done before. You may remember it a few months ago now, I think. Maybe even longer. I can't remember. Really cool piece. It was inspired by Jeremy Sinkus, really a well-known glass artist, and it works with like refraction and bouncing light back out of the piece. So I've actually done this piece before, but I've never done a full-blown tutorial. It's kind of a short video, so we're going to jump into that today, and this is really such a cool piece of jewelry. So out comes our cabochon mold, and we are going to be using these two round ones here. I normally use it in this orientation. These two round ones here, and we're going to be making a ball from these two pieces. So I'm going to try and simplify this, keep this as easy and simple. You may tweak this in any way you want, use different colors. It's entirely up to you. So we are using the Let's Resin UV clear hard type, and we are just going to be filling these not all the way to the top. Because remember, if you've watched my channel before, and we've done this before by merging two pieces together, there's like a straight lip. We want to kind of avoid that, otherwise it's not going to be perfectly round. So we're going to leave about 1 millimeter from the top of each of the cavities. And this one doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter if you've got bubbles in your UV resin. When you don't worry about it. You can just cure them with bubbles in. You're not going to see them, trust me. And then just going to give that a full cure under my UV lamp. Now those are fully cured, we can pop those out and then just have a see. I mean, it's not perfectly round, but it will do. It will do. It will make a really nice pendant. Now for the next stage, what we need to do is use something that's going to be very reflective. Something that's going to bounce the light back through the piece. Now you can do this with a chameleon flake. You can brush a chameleon flake onto this. You could use vinyl. You could use lots of different things, but it needs to be highly reflective, not just a normal mica powder. That's really not going to work. So what I'm going to use is some of the dichroic films from Little Windows. You've seen me use these in the past. Lots of different coloured films in these. You fuse them together in layers with a heat gun. I have got previous videos. If I remember, I'll edit the video number up here somewhere if I remember. If not, ask in the comments and I'll just reply with a video. So I've got some offcuts of this already. This will do. It's really nice, and you can just see how colourful and how much that bounces the colour around. This is going to work really, really well. So all we need to do is just cut a section of this off. Now, I could have done this before. I could have cut an area the same size as that and just cured it inside. That's entirely up to you how you want to do it. But I was toying with the idea of using something different. So yeah, I'm just going to do this the long-winded way. So I've just cut a section down a little bit more, and I'm just going to cut around that so it's the same size as the resin cabochon. There we have it. You can see even like different sides of the film produce or give out different colors. So now we just need to sandwich that together with a little bit of UV resin. So I'm just going to rest one half on one of the smaller cavities on my mold. Again, it really doesn't matter if we get trap bubbles in this. The finishing touches come afterwards. All we're going to do is just lay that on there and cure it. Then we just add the top, bit like making a burger, isn't it? As always, massive shout out to my channel members, anyone who's bought me a coffee or a super thanks, and to all our subscribers. If you haven't hit that button, please do so, help the channel grow. Let's add a little bit more on there. I don't want to add too much that when I apply this on top, it's going to spill over the sides, but if it does, it's not a problem. We can always sand off the excess. Just let that, you can see there is a bit of a trap bubble in there. Just push down a little bit, but it really doesn't matter. You can see the bubbles there, look. Really big bubbles there. Really doesn't matter. So we now have a kind of a ball, but you can see that that huge bubble there, it even helps by bouncing light and color back around through the piece. And like I mentioned, we're not really going to see this. So all I'm going to do now is just sand over the whole piece for the next stage, and you'll see why we need to sand it. So here we have our sanded ball. Look at that light coming through. Bit patchy, don't matter. Could have done with a little bit more sanding, but really don't care. So pick the side that you prefer. You know, which side is bouncing more color around, which side is giving better refraction. All I'm going to do now is use my spring drill, again from Little Windows. Really good little gadget. Is it a gadget? Tool. What I'm going to do is just begin to turn the drill with my hand just to make the beginning of the hole. Because what can happen with these drills is that they can bounce back or slip and completely scratch the resin. And if it does that, you're going to have to sand it all down again. So just twisting until I've got kind of a hole began. Now I can place that down and just begin to drill maybe 3 millimeters into the resin piece. And there we have our hole going through the back. So I can now attach an eyelet. So I'm just using one of these eyelets, and I can't find the hole. There it is. Just going to turn that and screw it in place. If the hole's not big enough, be careful, because these can actually snap and you'll be left with that part stuck inside the resin. And trust me, you can't get it out. It's an absolute pain. So if that is the case, just go up a stage with the drill bit, but just make sure it's not too big for the thread of the screw, otherwise it's just going to fall out. So this just makes the next step a little bit easier, because we can hang this whilst we're doing it. So now out comes some liquid latex. We're going to mask some areas, just dot work. PVA glue may work, but just bear in mind PVA glue will take a little bit longer to dry than this stuff. It's really cheap, but it's stinky. So we're just going to apply a design over the piece, do the back as well, and yeah, we'll go on from there. So I find it easier just to pour some of the liquid latex into a small cup so it doesn't dry, and I haven't got to keep trying to dip it all the way into this bottle. Now this part you can do what you want. You can use a dotting tool, you can use the end of a paintbrush, all depends on how big you want the design to be. So the tricky part is trying to get everything centered. So I'm just going to wing it. I'm not going to draw on any design, but you can draw on some faint lines with a pencil and try and make a perfect design that's fully symmetrical. But I'm just going to eyeball it just for the sake of the video. So I'm going to try and find my center and just apply. So I want the focus to be in the middle. A circle of the liquid latex as best I can. And if it goes wrong, it really is as simple as just wiping that off and starting again. So this is the front so far. You've got to have a little bit of patience, but like I've said before, the more you put in, the more you get out. So take your time. I did have to wipe this off a couple of times, I must admit, but you can see the areas kind of where I started in the middle starting to go clear, where the liquid latex is beginning to dry. So again, I mean, some people have got latex allergies. Try PVA glue, it should work. So all we need to do now, I can't flip this yet and do the back, so I'm going to have to just wait patiently for this to dry. What I can do is just lift off some of the excess, because it's just to mask it. We are going to be peeling this away after the next step, so, but it is drying. Yeah, and then we'll do the back. You don't have to do the back again. It's just what I'm doing. Okay, once that is touch dry, we now go to the next step. So I'm just using a matte black spray paint for this. Now this is where the eyelet comes in handy, because you can just put a bit of string on there, tie it to something, and go outside and just spray thin coats, but you want it to be solid black all over the front and the back. So maybe a couple of coats. So I'm going to take this outside and give it a spray and then let it dry. You could potentially use a black nail varnish, but my worry is with that it could cause issues when we pull off the liquid latex. So I mean, you're going to have to experiment. You could experiment with on a different surface first to see how it kind of reacts. But a spray paint, because it works in small dots over the surface, it won't cause an issue when we peel that away. But yeah, again, you can experiment with different ideas if you haven't got black spray paint. So you can see here, I just attached an old blue necklace cord to mine and just hung it up and sprayed it all over. A couple of coats. Now it's been about 30-40 minutes since I sprayed it. What I can do now is just use a pin and just go onto the latex. Try not to get the paint off. See how easy it just comes off like that, and just take off all of the dots. Don't miss any. Otherwise it will mess with the design. Can't really see the colour coming through yet, but we will. And this part is actually quite satisfying. Well, it is for me anyway. So I'm still on the front, I'm getting there, but you can see now, it's only been about 5 or so minutes. You can see now the light is starting to do its, well, I was going to say the light's starting to do its job. Of course it is. But the film inside and the light are working together, so you can really see. Don't worry too much about these areas. Once we've finished, we can kind of just give it a rub, but there are going to be a couple of extra steps, but most of it you're not going to see. Just try and pick off as much of the loose stuff as you can, but it is starting to really take form. Look at that. So I've now completed the front and the back. The back's not as good as the front. I rushed the back, but you can see there are areas where it doesn't look that great, to be honest with you, looking at it now. But this one's so easy, it doesn't really matter. So the next step is to dip this, just to seal all that paint in. We're going to dip this in some UV resin and cure it, and then we are really going to finish this piece of resin jewelry off, and it's going to look absolutely crazy. So out comes my black pot again. As always, I've mentioned this before, it is just the Let's Resin Clear Hard UV resin in this pot also. It's in the black pot so it doesn't cure from the light in the room or coming through any windows. And we're just going to dip that and cure it. My lamp's set up ready next to me. And I'm just going to hold the eyelet with some pliers. You can find another way of doing this. Can be tricky to hold these and turn it under the lamp at the same time. You can bond a stick to the eyelet with some UV resin like that, and then we can clean that up afterwards. Actually, I might do that just so it's a bit easier. Just dip that in there, and we're just gonna a bit easier to cure it from that underneath. Actually, I'm just using my mini beast. Just cure that on the stick. Hopefully it works. I don't know. I've never done this before. Not this way. Just going to reinforce that though with a little bit more. I don't want it falling off inside my pot. There we go, give it a wiggle, make sure it's not going to fall off. I'm quite happy with that. So we are going to take it and we're going to dip it all the way out to the eyelet. Just going to dip that in, give it a turn. You see that already. It really is crazy. But the best part comes after we've cured this. Look at that. That is insane. It's not even the best part. So I'm going to let the excess strip off. And then as soon as I know it's ready to turn, I will take it under my lamp and keep rotating it in my hand until it's cured. And that is, most of the excess is dripped off, but that is one crazy looking piece of resin art right there. So that has cured in there, on there. Now you can keep it as it is if you want, but we are really going to increase this color and kind of look at that. It's almost like a camera lens effect. Yeah, we're going to really intensify this a lot more. So with my dipping pot still at hand, what I'm going to do is just take a stick. I've got my UV handheld torch at the ready. What I'm going to do is now just go over those areas with dots of resin. So I'm going to find the center one first. I'm going to dip my stick into my pot and just basically drop it onto that window that we've got there. This is really going to magnify the color. And I'm just going to repeat that all over the piece. Obviously, the smaller the dot, the smaller the drop. And you'll see this come together. So I've done the center area on the front, and with each dot I'm just giving it a quick blast. I'm not fully curing it because it's easier just to flash cure it with my little torch, and then I can just basically hold it under my beast of a lamp afterwards. Because it's handy, I've got this. I'm glad I did the stick idea because it's much easier for me to turn it with my left hand and kind of apply the dots, quickly use my torch and move on. So it doesn't take too long. So all I need to do now is just remove the stick and just clean up the top there and get that off. At least I know the eyelet's not going to fall out. So we are all done. As always, give the video a thumbs up, drop me a comment if you haven't subscribed. Again, it's free, hit that button for me. Check out some of my other videos. But that is absolutely phenomenal. You see the light, because we did the back as well, can come through the piece and brighten it up. But it is absolutely stunning and unique. You can play around with different colours, but the trouble is you want the focus to be on the dot work. If I was to do this in, say, I don't know, a red spray paint, you're not really going to see the colours as much. So it really does make the piece pop. Again, they're like little camera lenses. I did the back with slightly bigger droplets of UV resin, so it even magnifies it and intensifies it even more. So you could flip it around if you wanted to. If you're going to do that, I'd suggest drilling the hole in the center, because it doesn't look right. But yeah, try and get some better photos. Absolutely phenomenal. Spend a bit of time, you get some amazing resin art results. Hope you enjoyed that one, guys. I will see you for the next one. Bye for now.